Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however, wherever, whenever you're listening. This is the Root for Wisconsin show, episode 154, coming at you from the Riverwood Gallery Studio in De Pere, Wisconsin. I'm host, producer Eric Fisher, the Big E. Joining me this week, for sure, we have Dylan Schritt. Dylan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Fantastic. Don't know if anybody else is going to join. The link was put out there for the remaining members of the group, so we will see what happens.
Yeah,
if they join, it'll be just as interesting to you as it is for us. So obviously by the time that this is posted, we'll know. You'll know. I'll know. But in the meantime, as we record, we don't know. So in the meantime, let's talk about the episode we got coming up here for you. As always, start off with talking about our friends over at Raging Pro Wrestling, RPW, rpwprowrestling.com for tickets for the next two events they have coming up. Friday, November 1st, the Big Apple Pub and Grill in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. It is RPW Destiny 4. You're not going to want to miss that. A stacked card, and should be an absolute blast to be a part of. Beat Ken Anderson that night. He'll be there in a match against the son of Umaga, Zilla Fatsu. And if you know that last name, if you're a wrestling fan, he is part of the Bloodline family. So the Bloodline extended family comes to Wisconsin in Manitowoc Friday, November 1st. The following night, November 2nd, RPW and Vision 3 also at the Big Apple in Manitowoc. Get your seats early. They are going fast. Former WWE superstar Swoggle, a.k.a. Hornswoggle, will be in action on November 2nd. Again, not going to want to miss an absolutely stacked card there as well. Tickets are available at rpwprowrestling.com and look sharp in the Fox River Mall. So get your tickets while you can. We will be there in some capacity, more than likely. With that, Dylan, we get into the episode. And if I may, I'll start off with what we had rooted for in the past, well, at this point, week and a half. The reason we did not record last week is for the fourth time, became an uncle. So last week we were all set to record Thursday night, but as life ever so does happen, schedule got thrown off a little bit by some family goings on. So congratulations to Mitch and Chelsea, who have now put it on Facebook, so I can talk about it a little bit. But their second born, we were taking care of the firstborn Thursday night while they were in the hospital having the baby. Thursday night, the baby was born. Mom and baby are good. First appointment for them was today. So absolute joy. Got to meet the baby. His name is Miles. It's awesome. So that was Thursday night. But sports-wise, Root 4's Green Bay Blizzard has probably been the biggest Root 4 that we've been kind of talking about throughout the time on this show and since our last recording. Got the first week of the playoff win the night that we were at. Unfortunately, they were not able to come up with a win in the Eastern Conference Championship game this past Friday night. But what a special season they had. So shout out to them there as well. And then I'm sure we'll talk about more throughout the episode, but big shout out to the Olympics as well. And one more quick root for, if I may. And as I'm sitting here watching the Brewers play the Braves, I do want to shout out a former Brave, Freddie Freeman, and the baseball community, who his son was diagnosed with a terrible condition. I can't even get it pronounced. It's like Guillain-Barré syndrome, where they go. The 3-year-old son had this condition where he was temporarily paralyzed for about a week, and he was able to overcome it and was released from the hospital yesterday or Sunday, I believe, and Freddie Freeman was able to return to baseball. The Brewers actually doing something really cool. Had made a support video for him and his family in that time frame. But just the baseball community coming together for Freddie Freeman, welcoming him back with open arms, and him being able to kind of discuss that after his return game last night. So that has been my root for us. Dylan, what do you got for us?
I've been rooting for a few things. Start out first and foremost the Olympics. I've definitely been enjoying them. Specifically, USA basketball. They've been doing exceptionally well, including today, which we'll get into. Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously he's playing on Greece's national team, so been trying to follow them the best I can. And then I've also been watching Kenny Bednarik, Olympic sprinter out of Rice Lake, Wisconsin. So, yeah, we'll get into all that later, but that's who I've been rooting for.
That's awesome. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure we'll get through that in a little bit here as we go throughout the episode. But with the positives do come the negatives. That leads us to our Tyler Hero Noogie of the Week. And what do you got for us on that, Dylan? Any noogies that you want to give out for the past week or so?
I don't really have much, honestly. It's I think as far as Olympics, as long as the Olympics are on, sports are just front and center in the world, and you have thousands of athletes competing this week, and there's going to be mistakes made. It's just going to happen. But this is the world stage. This is the most competitive time in sports that there is. So I don't even feel comfortable giving out a noogie for these people.
I have a couple I want to give out. Not necessarily for the Olympics, but just a couple things kind of going on around. Sure. First and foremost, a noogie to the pole vaulting pole. For the poor French guy who lost his ability or his right to a pole vaulting medal because his personal pole, struck the crossbar on the pole vault. Absolute tragedy, but I guess he'll probably come out of it on the other side a little bit better. I'm guessing he will benefit from this greater than a gold medal would have been.
There is a silver lining to that loss, or to that miss, I should say. There is a silver lining to that miss.
Yes. Also want to give out a noogie to Cale Zeldin. And Dylan, you're going to ask me, who the hell is Cale Zeldin? I'll tell you who Cale Zeldin is. Cale Zeldin started trending last night on the Twitter sphere, or the X sphere, I guess, for coming up with the terrible idea that this is a post he had on Twitter that, like I said, did start trending and get the attention of a lot of people, myself included. And I didn't want to fall for it. So I guess maybe a half a noogie to myself for falling into the bait of it. But says, gents, it is time to let go of the baseball cap. Outside of the arena of playing a sport, it is a marker of either poor style or poor awareness. Have some dignity. Just take them off, especially inside.
I did see you engage on Twitter with this individual.
It's just, first of all, if you look at the guy, he gives you big time. Just my reaction was, yeah, no, not going to happen. Pretty rich from the guy who probably unironically owns / wears multiple fedoras. Which he then responded by saying he does not own a single fedora, which I'm going to call bullshit on. But Dylan, I don't know if you had clicked on his information, or he looks like the kind of guy that would own and wear multiple fedoras.
I concur.
So I want to give a noogie to that because, first of all, baseball caps are probably, I would go on record saying, one of the best parts of fashion these days. One of my favorite accessories.
Mm-hmm.
Comfort. Make a lot of statements. You can put a lot of outfits together with the ball cap.
You really can.
I'm sure you appreciate a good ball cap.
I do.
For maybe different reasons than I do. Maybe.
Is that a bald joke?
That is indeed a bald joke.
Okay, that's fair. I respect it.
But
respect it.
I just, first of all, he does say as a outside the arena of sport, and first of all, just wording that of playing a sport. But it's just a hard working hat, you know. You got to have something when you're outside working on stuff and all that, you know, that kind of goes with that. So what are you supposed to? Are you just not supposed to wear a hat any other time? I mean, we're not talking about going to a fancy dinner. We're talking about, you know, working outside or going to the
Mm-hmm.
ball game.
Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure why you attack the ball cap of all things.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I got hung up on it. I mean, like I say, it's just I think you have to know your audience, know your arena. I mean, you're not. You know, if I'm going to a nice steak joint,
Mm-hmm.
probably not wearing a baseball hat all day. But if I'm just, you know, doing almost anything else, and I'm not wearing it to the opera or
To a
to a
wedding,
theater.
no,
No,
right?
not to a wedding, unless it's that kind of wedding. Some people have really casual
Mm-hmm.
outdoor type weddings. You know, again, you know your audience, know your arena.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look around, know your settings.
Yeah, I'm not. It just seems unprovoked. It seems unprovoked.
I do want to give one more noogie regarding the Olympics. And this is something we had talked about the last time we recorded, which was a week and a half ago. I still cannot fathom, and this is on America as a whole, why the hell is handball not a bigger sport in America?
Oh my gosh, I know.
I I have lived to watch handball during the Olympics. Like it is the best part. And I cannot understand why like it has all the makings of a great sport. You've got physicality. You've got a pretty condensed playing area. You've got people shooting stuff into a net. And it's kind of like basketball too. I mean, basketball's a pretty big sport. I'd argue probably our second
Mm-hmm.
biggest sport in the country. And you're gonna tell me that instead of, you know, shooting into a hoop, you're just gonna throw a ball at a guy? That we can't get on board with this?
Yeah.
I shame. This is the ultimate nigga. This is to American society. The fact that handball is not a bigger sport here in this country is nothing but a travesty.
I will say we did have intramural handball in college, and that was a lot of fun.
It's a blast. It is again probably one of the best sports, and it does not get the love that it should.
Mm-mm.
And it is again a true travesty that does not because
Someday it will.
of the Olympic sports that are kind of specialized to the Olympics. I mean, like we have basketball, track is kind of, you know, it's always going, but it only gets really the attention. Same with swimming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say what you will about soccer here in America, it goes through ups and downs. Um, Marathons, you know, it's very specialized. But of the Olympic sports that are kind of Olympics only, this is the one that makes the least amount of sense to me as to why it's not a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm. Someday it will be a bigger deal. Someday.
I hope
Maybe
and I
not
pray.
today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday it will be.
I really hope so because it is. I've said it before. I think I said it last week, and I said it on Twitter. Imagine getting together with the boys, grabbing a couple beers, going to go to, you know, the Reich Center to watch handball. It'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it
And
would.
but we have pro lacrosse these days. I would rather watch handball over lacrosse.
I'd say yeah, by a slim margin.
I would probably rather watch handball than I probably would rather watch it than soccer.
Well, it's just soccer with your hands,
Well,
essentially.
right.
I mean, there's more to it than that, but when you boil it down, it's very similar to what soccer is, except with your hands.
Yeah, it's like a mixture of soccer, hockey, and I guess basketball. just given the nature of I guess the uniform and the area that it's played in. But I mean, again, just it's really incredible to watch. Water polo is a close second. Water polo is a sneaky underrated Olympic sport.
It really is. Yeah, water handball.
It really, I mean, that's literally what it is. But
yeah,
I can see that being a little bit more restrictive. I mean, you have to have an natatorium, and you have to, there's a little more restrictions to that being conventionally accessible. But handball, we could be playing anywhere, everywhere. I mean, you want to talk about a sport that is just available. And, that's why, you look at why baseball took off back in when it did, people were playing with like milk jugs for baseball gloves in very poor areas. And why soccer got so popular around the world was because all you needed was the ball, a certain area for the field, and an area that was a goal. This one, all you need is a wall, really a wall.
It's a fun sport.
It is. That's probably enough about handball, but it needed to be talked about.
We're going to talk about it again. We're going to keep talking about it.
I'm not going to let this drop, but
this is officially the start of our handball promotion campaign.
I love that. I really do.
Yep.
I am, there the phrase going around in pop culture right now is Brat Summer. And I really haven't figured out what 100% that means yet. I did Google it, and I know it's a Charlie XCX song. I'd also Google who Charlie XCX was. I remember
I would have to do the same.
She had one song that I kind of knew a long time ago. But I know it's a big thing in the culture, but it's not a Brat Summer, it's a handball summer, and I will die on that hill.
It is now.
I'd even say it might be a handball fall. That's my noogie.
Long-winded noogie, but well-deserved.
I feel very passionately about this.
Well, I'm glad you got it off your chest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. So with that being said, we jump into our episode, and let's stay right with the theme of the Olympics. Dylan, what we got going on Olympic-wise?
Oh, man. Well, to start off close to home, Kenny Bednarek, the Olympic sprinter out of Rice Lake, he is currently they ran the 100-meter finals yesterday, I believe. Kenny ended up finishing third. I'm sorry, he did not finish third. He finished seventh. He's currently ranked third in the world, I believe. But he finished seventh. He didn't have his best race, that's for sure. But seventh place at the Olympics isn't all bad. So I believe he is moved on to the 200-meter finals. I am just finding to confirm that now, but I'm almost positive he's on to that. So it's, I like watching track and field. This is one of my favorite sports in high school. So it's nice to see, I remember watching him run at the high school state meet in lacrosse. I can't remember what year it was. He was a couple years younger than me. I believe he was running against my brother. And he's fast. He was so freaking fast. So I've always been rooting for him. I'm always going to root for him. He's one of the very few athletes I actually pay attention to. So I like seeing that. As far as USA basketball is concerned, huge win today. 112-80 over Brazil. You and I were talking about this earlier today, and that game was as close as it should have been. It should not have been close.
No, I'm glad. If I may interrupt here, I'm glad you brought that
Yes.
up because the U.S. men's basketball team has struggled covering betting spreads thus far in the Olympics. And from what I have come to learn, they have been printing money by betting against the U.S. covering spreads, especially against South Sudan,
Yeah.
who they have struggled with. But yeah, that was a big one that I was brought to my attention today about people just hammering against USA basketball.
Well, the thing about the U.S. current U.S. men's team is by far the best team in the world. It's the best team that's been assembled in the last, at least half a decade. But these other teams that are playing, your South Sudan's, they're playing for a lot more than just bragging rights. They're playing to put themselves on the map. USA's already won. USA's the one with the target on their back, and as they rightfully should. They're the best. They're ranked number one in the world for a reason. They're the 1 seed in the Olympic semifinals, or heading into the quarterfinals, I should say, for a reason. And today they actually played like it. I didn't get to watch the game because I was at work. I haven't watched the highlights yet, but I did follow it live on one of the websites. And it was a close game after the first quarter. We were only up by 2 points maybe. And then as soon as that second quarter started, they just blew them out. All of a sudden, they turned a 2 or 3 point lead into a 20-point lead.
It was 33-21 after the first quarter.
Was it? I thought it was 33-31. Okay, but still, they were only up 12 points. They should have been up way more.
And they did indeed cover, by the way, today. For those wondering, it was a 27.5-point spread today.
So I did get to watch highlights of the other 3 games. Serbia and Australia. Australia was so hot from 3. They were just nailing everything, and then Serbia eventually just clawed their way back. Jokic did Jokic things, but they looked vulnerable. Germany.
Man, if I may commentate on that for just a moment. Patty Mills, when he plays for Team Australia,
is a different guy.
A different dude. And I'm not sure if he had led scoring he did 26 points, 11 of 21 from the field. Sanity.
Yeah, he was making some, at least from what I saw in the highlights, he was making some tough shots, some very tough shots. Let's see here. The Germans, they played.
Matthew Dellavedova still plays for Team Australia. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and then just circling back to Australia, Patty Mills, I believe, is retiring from Team Australia. So, I know they probably didn't go as far as they wanted to go, but
they were 1-3, 1-2 through group play, and they made the quarterfinal. I mean, I know they made it to the first round of, they made it out of pool play into the first round of elimination, but
top eight. And they took Serbia to overtime. Serbia is no joke. They're ranked very high in the world, and they took them to overtime. So, let's see. Germany, they played Greece and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and let me tell you something. That dude is a monster. Giannis, just an absolute monster. I'm not gonna say anything bad about the rest of Greece's squad, but
they aren't Giannis. Simple as that.
Yeah. There's no other way to put it. And he carried that team on his back for as long as he could. And Germany's the reigning FIBA World Cup champion for a reason. I mean, they're a good team. And
I'm looking at the Team Greece roster. I could probably pronounce one of these names.
yeah,
And I'd probably still butcher it. Besides Giannis, and even that's a coin flip. You say Giannis,
that's a tongue twister there.
And then you just throw some Akumpos.
Yep. But Giannis continues to put himself on the basketball map. You and I were talking earlier. Was it later last week or earlier this week? And I firmly believe that Giannis is the best basketball player in the world right now. Just based on what I'm seeing on these Olympics. You take some of the Team USA guys, and sure, they don't have to play. They don't have to do the things that Giannis is being asked to do. But I mean, there's just he's incredible to watch. He really is.
For perspective, this would be like putting. Let's just look at Kevin Durant or LeBron James, putting them with a team of like college all-stars.
Right.
And saying, hey, LeBron, you're going to do this for 25, 30 minutes of basketball, and we will try to do the rest with you.
Right.
And it's not even close. I mean, you look at some of these rosters out there, and I'm just kind of going through, like, you're going to mention them here in a moment, but like Team France, who probably one of the better rosters outside of Team USA. Canada's was pretty good too, who Team France ends up beating today and eliminating. But their starting lot, they got Victor Wembanyama, who is a rising, ascending player, rookie of the year, all that jazz. Nicholas Batum played 34 minutes for them today.
He's another one of those players that in the NBA, he fills his role, but as soon as he puts on his country's jersey, he just goes beast mode.
He did not today. In the win for France, played 34 minutes, 0 of 1 shooting, 5 boards, 3 assists, no points. But played 34 minutes. But, I mean, looking at this roster, Batum, Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier. I mean, this is not a bad roster.
No.
Team Canada, RJ Barrett, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Trey Lyles are a couple of the names I just kind of, looking
Dylan
at
Brooks is on there.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks. But they are nowhere as stacked as Team USA.
No, and that's where Team USA is going to thrive is, they put their starters out there, and that's the best team in the world. And then they go to their second unit, and that's the second best team in the world.
You have NBA MVPs who are getting 0 minutes.
Yeah.
Or single-digit minutes.
Yeah, and as a recent MVP, like MVP last year, and if he was healthy, he would have won it this year. Getting 0 minutes because of this roster.
Tyrese Halliburton, who's a rising star in the NBA, probably was on the verge of getting MVP votes. Played 8 minutes today. Yeah. Anthony Davis comes off the bench, plays 16 minutes. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant comes off the bench, plays 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you have a player like Kevin, granted Kerr has been playing around with the rosters quite a bit. I'm sorry, not the roster, with the starters.
Rotations.
Yep, he's been playing around with them quite a bit, and that's good. It keeps everybody on their toes. It's just crazy the weapons that they have. It's crazy, and obviously we're rooting for Halliburton being an Oshkosh guy.
I will root for him for right now. I think he's a douche in the NBA regular season, but
I concur. I do. I concur. But I gotta root for him a little bit because he's from Oshkosh. He lives 15 minutes from where I'm currently sitting, where I'm recording this episode from. So
I'm going to go on record saying we don't have to root for him because he lives 15 minutes from where you're sitting, because we literally have a segment called the Tyler Hero Nugget of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
But unlike Tyler Hero, Tyrese Halliburton's actually pretty damn good, whereas Tyler Hero's just kind of he's NBA good. He's better at basketball than I will ever be. He's still a
for now.
douche.
For now,
right?
I also know Halliburton's dad, so I got to be a little.
No, I'm just saying we don't have to because we have that.
Yes,
but if he wasn't like in an actually pretty heated rivalry with the Bucks, I would probably like him more. It's like, it's almost like rooting for Jimmy Butler when he's not playing the Bucks. I mean, Miami's had Milwaukee's number the last handful of years, and I can't, in good conscience, root for Miami because of Tyler Hero.
Right.
But when Tyler Hero's out, and it's just Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler stuff, I'm a big fan of him. But when he plays against Milwaukee, can't stand him.
Yeah.
But anyway, Olympics, just kind of putting a bow on this, do want to mention a medal count. As of right now, U.S. domination, 86 medals to China's 59 is the next closest. First gold medals, USA now leads with 24, China in second with 22. So it is, it's a pretty big throttling. When you go to, for those of you out there in the betting world, like I am, or like I would like to be, it's really inconvenient to do it here in Wisconsin. It drives me insane, but it's probably for the best. You could have bet the lines of medal count. There was one with medal count with Team USA in it, and then they have one that's just without Team USA. The line is literally medal count minus Team USA. And I mean, it gets a little interesting from there, but as a whole, it's been pretty much, again, dominated by Team USA.
Yeah, and just looking at those rankings real quick, obviously we're ahead. 86. China's in second with 59. France is in third with 48. Looking at the golds, we have 24. China has 22. France has 13.
Australia has 14. 14 gold.
Yes,
they're behind in total medal count.
Yes, I'm by the way. I'm just going top three in total medal count here.
Yes.
So then we have silvers. We have 31. China has 21. France has 16. And here's the big difference: bronze medals. We have 31. China has 16. France has 19. Great Britain also has 19. So that's what's really setting us apart now, is we have nearly double the amount of bronze medals as the next overall medal leader. So I don't see how it would be possible for the U.S. to lose these Olympics. I really don't.
Yeah, I know they don't score them like that. I mean, they should. It'd be a lot of fun if like you're the overall Olympics champion.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that would entail.
Bragging rights.
Yeah. It is kind of, looking through this, 69 countries have earned a medal in at least one medal. Which is nothing short of impressive. It's definitely worth mentioning that is indeed going on. 42 have won at least one gold medal.
It's very impressive. We don't have to stay in the Olympics forever, but something I do really enjoy about watching the Olympics is, the U.S. Here in the U.S., we're just so accustomed to our athletes competing and winning gold medals. We don't really realize what it means to some of these other countries to get a medal, to get on the podium regardless, even a bronze. The great example I can think of is there's a sprinter, I believe she was out of St. Lucia. She won the 100 She won the 100-meter sprint, and that she took gold. She upset the fastest women in the world to win gold, and that's the country's first ever gold medal. And it looked like when the Bucks won their 2021 NBA championship, how all the crowd was out in Pfizer Forum, or not Pfizer, Deer District, going crazy. A very small scale of that, but there was a group of people watching her win that race, and the country's first gold medal. I mean, that put them on the map. So I really do enjoy watching that kind of stuff in the Olympics too. So
yeah, I'll put a bow just on my end of the Olympics here. Of it is incredibly interesting, and I know we had a very long handball segment, and I'm not going to dive back into that, but it is really cool watching our country and our sports fans embrace these sports that don't get the limelight, except every 4 years, right? Like, I mean, again, handball is one of those sports, but the gymnastics, like the amount of people that go absolutely nuts for this current gymnastics run that the U.S. is on, which is having an amazing men and women's gymnastics, which really makes me feel shitty about how my body works. For how these like that dude who takes the glasses off, sits there, and then does whatever the fuck a pommel horse is.
Yep, pommel horse Clark Kent.
Which, for what it's worth, I didn't know what that was actually called. The pommel horse to me was a trick on MX versus ATV, the 4-wheeler trick. Did not know it was also a gymnastics thing, which is obviously where it probably got its name from. But I'm guessing the gymnastics pommel horse has been around longer than the 4-wheeler pommel horse trick. But regardless, that was my association with the pommel horse. But no, it is really cool. I mean, these celebrities, 15 minutes of fame that are, the guy from Turkey who goes out there without any sort of ear or eye gear protection, whatever. He's just like, I'm going to shoot this gun and embarrass everybody. You got nerds wearing Spy Kid gear and like Inspector Gadget type shit, and this guy's like, fuck it. I'm just going to go out there with my safety goggles on.
Not even. I don't think he was wearing safety glasses. I think he was just wearing his normal glasses.
Even better.
Yeah.
I think you're right on that. But I think they were like, I mean, they were kind of like sport glasses.
And it just sucks that he had to throw the event and purposely take the silver medal to not raise any suspicion to who he truly is.
Yes. But yeah, it is really cool, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more in next week's episode as we kind of wrap up here. But that's the Olympic talk for the week. Brings us back to Wisconsin sports. The fact that there should probably be a handball team here, but let's start with the Milwaukee Brewers, who, because they're on TV right now. Milwaukee Brewers currently still lead the NL Central by 6 games coming into play today. The Brewers are currently leading the Atlanta Braves 9-0.
That's big.
And as we speak, the Cardinals are in second. The Pirates are tied for second as well. Cardinals are winning their game. The Pirates and Padres are delayed in the second inning of their contest. But Brewers, like I said, they do remain in first place pretty steadily. They are playing around their win projection, which, if you're a fan, if you look into some of the advanced run differentials and expected wins losses, are actually 2 losses above where they should be based on run differential and all the advanced kind of stat keeping that goes into that. So potential that they could have been 64-47. They're 62-49 right now. The Pirates and Cardinals are actually both overperforming record-wise. So I think that speaks volumes to about where the Brewers are. I'll be honest. So another quick just note on the Brewers. The MLB trade deadline was last Tuesday. And I'm going to be the first to admit I was very upset with how the trade deadline went for the Brewers. I personally feel like they probably should have made more noise at the deadline, given especially what we end up seeing some of these other players go for. The one kind of saving grace is a couple of the pitchers that I thought they could have gone out and got have suffered with their new teams. So I guess it's kind of a silver lining. The one pitcher the Brewers did go get, blanking on his name right now, but I'll figure it out here in a second. But the pitcher that the Brewers did go and get did win in his second start. No, he did win in his first start. So hats off to him on that. He got the win on Friday night, and that was Frankie Montas. That's who I was thinking of. Frankie Montas, Brewers got from the Reds. The only other part of the trade deadline that I don't understand for the Brewers' perspective was how or why they didn't trade one of their three catchers on the big lead squad. And not because they're not performing well. Actually, I think they're all performing very well, which is even more to my point in case here. So in baseball, as it stands right now, Dylan, you can carry 26 players on your active roster, on your game day roster. You also have a 40-man roster for guys who are either injured on the 10-day IL, not the 60-day IL. They actually come off the 40-man. But you have 40 other people who can either be on the who are either on the 10-day IL or are in the minors that you can bring up and send down kind of back and forth without having to really open another 40-man roster spot. So, for example, when Christian Yelich got hurt, they were able to reinstate Gary Sanchez, and it was a direct move for a move.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both in the 40-man roster, so they didn't have to do anything outside of that. Now, where this gets kind of crappy, the Brewers' sake, is that barring something happening to one of them and being hurt and going on one of the ILs, either 10-day or 60-day, which you can kind of fudge. Once you're on the 10-day IL, it just means that you can stay on the 40-man.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the 60-day IL, obviously you have to be out for 60 days, but then you're not on the 40-man anymore until you come back and you're activated. But I say all that to say that barring an injury to one of the three catchers, which obviously no one's rooting for in any capacity,
right?
If the Brewers were in a position where they had to move either Gary Sanchez or Eric Haas, because they're not moving William Contreras, he is an MVP type candidate, they don't have minor league options, which when you have a contract, when you're either on your rookie contract or if you, depending on how you sign your contract with a team coming in, you can sign a minor league contract and then get called up. Neither one of them has minor league options, so you can't send them back down if they're underperforming or if there's not room on the 26 man. Now, where the Brewers kind of get saved is that once we get to September, rosters do gradually expand. They don't expand as much as they had a few years back, where you would go from 25, I believe it went to like 35 for the month of September. But they do expand. I think it goes from 26 to 28, and then later in September it goes up to, I want to say 30 or 31.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, if somebody were to get hurt and they needed to go add another pitcher, or depending on who they would call up, infield, outfield wise, they would be really limited as to what they can do with Haas or Sanchez because they can't move on. So I say all this, and I know this is probably a lot more details than it needs to be, but they should have traded one of the two of them because they didn't. If they do need to make that move and they can't survive it until roster expansion in September, they would have to DFA one of them. DFA means that they get put on waivers, and if a team claims them, you have to you're basically trading for cash at that point. You're not really working on a true trade like it would have been prior to the trade deadline. So it kind of sucks when you do DFA a guy. There is the possibility that they clear waivers, but if they clear waivers, the player then has the option to say, I want to be released. And they don't have to go to AAA. They can say, hey, I believe that I'm good enough to go play for a different team. Adios, and then you get nothing out of it. So the pitching staff is what it is. I didn't love that they only made the two moves, plus a bullpen guy on the night before the deadline or the weekend of the deadline, but not moving one of those catchers for you're not going to get, a star pitcher for one of those two guys, but to get something where you very likely would get nothing, and now you have to carry three catchers, all of which are relatively limited. Haas, Contreras, they could all DH. That is the one kind of saving grace, and the Yelich injury kind of makes that better, as you do have at least a route for one of them catching and one of them DHing, so you have use for two of them on any given day. But it's still less than ideal, and I really would have preferred if they would have made a move.
Yeah, without knowing too much about the inner machinations of how they're trying to structure their roster and all that stuff, I can see it from a fan's perspective of, we got a good team this year. Why are we not doing everything we can to make it better than what it is? But that's always just kind of been the Wisconsin sports mentality, is we have what we have and we're going to do what we can with it.
And, for what it's worth, it's kind of one of those where this wasn't their all-in year given how the team is structured right now.
Right.
And you've had enough injuries where, Yelich goes on the IL and was potentially needing season-ending surgery, or he's going to wait it out and see if he can do without until the offseason or whatever he needs, whatever needs to happen. So from that perspective, don't overplay your hand. I get it, but you should always, if you have an opportunity, this isn't like even 2 years ago, even last year, really, where the Central was kind of the slouch division. The Brewers are playing with these other division leaders. Philadelphia, who has been one of the best teams in baseball all season, is 66-46. The Dodgers 66-47. The Brewers are right on pace with that. You look at the American League. Baltimore and the Yankees out in the American League East are both 67-46, who have been having incredible years. At one point, a historic clip. And they're, 5 games ahead of you win-wise and only 3 ahead of you loss-wise. So you look at Cleveland having, an incredible year, 67-45. You look out at the AL West, 59-54 with the Seattle Mariners. So you are not even the slouch of division winners across baseball. Like, you're right in the mix with them. Right now, and for what it's worth, if you can play a good 3-game set here against Atlanta, the Phillies and Dodgers are playing each other, so you can make a lot of ground up right there. And this is significant because the top 2 teams in each league do get the first round bye through the wild card series, where we saw the Brewers get tripped up last year. Brewers lost to the Diamondbacks best 2 out of 3. So at least it's not the single game wild card like it had been. But getting to that 2 seed is very doable for the Milwaukee Brewers, and they're playing a good Braves team right now, who's sitting at that top wild card at 60-51. So a team that you very likely could see come October if the schedule kind of works out. Right now, the Brewers would be on pace to play at San Diego at 61-52. Because the three wildcard teams are actually all tied right now. It's Atlanta, Arizona, and San Diego are all tied based on win percentage. But yeah, that's kind of where you're at. So I guess, like I said, I would have preferred them to make a couple more moves to try to go all in a little bit more, but kind of is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're up 9-0 right now. That's a good way to start
10-0.
clawing your way up to that 2 seed.
They just went up 10-0. William Contreras just doubled top of the 8th. So the lead grows, which it's one game. It's one of 162. But this is exactly the kind of game that they needed offensively from what they had been since Yelich had gone on the IL. So very happy to see this outpour, and hopefully that they've kind of figured something out. They had an off day yesterday, and are traveled out from DC to Atlanta. So hoping that this can ride through and take us to the weekend where they come back home. Shauna and I will be in attendance on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Very nice.
One more note in baseball, Dylan. I don't know if you've seen this or come across this, but for as good as the teams in the American League Central have been, and as good as Milwaukee has been, there is a team historically bad right now who is in the midst of a 21-game losing streak, which is, I believe, third all time.
Look to our friends down south.
It is to our friends down south. The Chicago White Sox are on a 21-game losing streak. At 27-88, they have lost 21 in a row. And it's getting to a point where, again, this is probably for the best that I don't have easy access to gambling. Because it's getting to a point where you can actually make considerable amount of money if you decide to take their money line on any given day. Now, for example, your average baseball game, because there's so many of them, you're usually, I would consider, pretty close. Even in, we look at like the Phillies and the Dodgers, right? That's two very good teams. Playing at the top of the MLB, top of the National League right now. For example, if you look at their betting line for tonight, when they take the field, it's -110, -110, literally dead even. Even looking at, let's say, the Seattle Mariners, who are 59-54, and the Detroit Tigers 53-60. Seattle's -205, Detroit's +170, which isn't good. I mean, if you put $10 down, you get 17 back, so you get $27 total. The White Sox, depending on when you had gone and looked at the books, the White Sox today were +185 at one point. And that has, again, just drastic. And they're playing against a team in the Oakland Athletics who are, again, almost historically bad. The Athletics are 47-67 on the season. So they are 20 games over or under 500 and a -190 favorite because of how bad the White Sox have been playing. The White Sox, also another stat that I had given to me by my brother-in-law, Ben, over the 115 games that the White Sox have played today, in 32 of those 115 games, so it's nearly 28% of their games played this season, Dylan, they have scored 0 or only 1 run.
Oh,
28% of the time. So one out of basically every 3 days, one out of every four, 3.5, 4 days that you're going out there, you are only scoring 0 or 1 run.
that's tough. You're not going to win many games like that.
That is insane. How bad they are on pace to be. They are on pace to potentially be. Now, I looked this up yesterday, so I don't know if this is adjusted because they lost again yesterday. But their current trend for winning right now, they're still projected to win 44 games, which would not be the all-time lowest in the modern era that starts in 1901, but it would be the second lowest for a 162 game season. I believe the lowest, if I'm not mistaken, was 35. But the current, I guess, the modern all-time low is 40, or I think it was 40, and that was set by the 2003 Detroit Tigers. I gotta look this up as to what their record was that year. But the 2003 Detroit Tigers were 43-119. So for the modern 162 game season, it's very well possible with a 2-game kind of window where the Chicago White Sox could go 42-120 and set that all-time low mark. With that, Dylan, the 2003 Detroit Tigers were so bad. They had a player get the reverse Triple Crown, the Triple Crown loser, which is the lowest. It means you are last in the league in home runs, RBIs, and batting average.
Oh, man. Has it ever been done before?
It's been done 12 times.
Really?
And I believe that was the last time that it was done.
Oh.
But it
has that been done more times than the actual Triple Crown winner?
No, that is more rare than the Triple Crown winner. The Triple Crown winner is still fairly rare, all things considered.
Right. Yeah.
Let me look here. So the last Triple Crown that's been won was, I believe, in 2012. I want to look here. The last one was in 2012 by Miguel Cabrera.
Who 12 years ago.
Prior to that was 1967.
Jeez.
With Carl Yastrzemski. Prior to that, so looking through here, if we start the modern era, so kind of same, so 1901. It's been done 15 times for a batter. There's also a pitching Triple Crown, but since 1901, it's been done 15 times. The Triple Crown, or the Triple Dunce Cap is what you can call it.
That's good.
I'm trying to find when it's been done prior to that. One sec. But it is, again, I mean, it's probably close to equal, but still very, 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 very bad.
Impressive either way.
I mean, really is. I mean, because for what it's worth, you have to be able to be good enough to play every day, or just about every day, to actually qualify for meeting the requirements for at bats and on everything that kind of goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find where this is. They had looked this up, and it was amazing on how, again, just how bad it really was. And I felt kind of bad about laughing about it, but it kind of was what it was, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Ramon Santiago, who had a good career for what it's worth. He had a long 14-year or 12-year career, had a career average of 243, 30 home runs, 214 runs batted in. So it was his second season, but it just was so. His 2003 season, he had 2 home runs, I think 29 RBI, and he hit 225. Again, almost impressive to be able to play. And he played like 150 games. So again, it's not like he's only playing 10 games. It's a very small sample size. No, this is within capacity to qualify for league leading stats and then finishing dead last in all of them.
It's not a title I'd want to have.
No. So Chicago White Sox, historically bad. Brewers, pretty good. Not great. Not necessarily maybe over number 1 overall seed, but not bad. Pretty good.
No, not bad.
Not Chicago White Sox bad.
No. Not even Chicago Cubs bad.
I don't know how I would react if the Brewers were in a position in my adult lifetime to potentially have an MLB all-time worst record.
I think you just have to laugh it off. There's not really much else you can do. You're going to be the brunt of almost every MLB-related joke there is for that season and probably many to come. So all you can really do is laugh it off to not go insane.
I mean, you kind of have to, right? I mean, like, the Brewers have had some bad seasons. When we were growing up, the Brewers were not good.
Mm-hmm.
They were so bad. Their worst season, if I'm not mistaken, I believe was like 2002. So same window. They were 56 and 106.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's their franchise worst season, which isn't good by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we are incredibly lucky to be in an era where Brewers baseball is actually pretty good, all things considered. But that's still, I mean, 2001, 68, 94, 2002, 56, 106. Pretty good bounce back in 03, 68, and 94. But that is historically bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 16 losses more. That's 10% of a season worse than the Brewers' worst all-time season.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, I'm just rooting for him to get that L streak. Keep going up. Just keep it going up.
So a reverse root for.
Yeah. I'm rooting for whoever they play.
I'm waiting for it to get a little bit higher because I want the betting odds to where I can actually go over and maybe win some money on the day I decide to pull a trigger on it.
That's just gonna be tough to pick.
I mean, it's gonna happen eventually, and it's probably gonna be a day that I'm not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that has honestly become one of the first things I've been doing in the day. It's what's the A's money line today?
That's funny.
Which probably says more about me than the actual thing happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No offense, of course, but I do agree.
I'm okay with that. All right. One quick. Let's just move on. We'll don't really have much basketball. Baseball still going on pretty strong. One quick thing of note, Dylan. One topic we did not discuss a week and a half ago when we last recorded. Pretty eventful summer for the Green Bay Phoenix. I know we had not really gotten to cover a lot of the recruiting news, so we'll kind of skip over that for now because both men and women have gotten some major recruits coming in. But that kind of I think that would deserve its own, not kind of rushed segment here.
Agreed.
But the Green Bay Phoenix women did announce earlier this week or late last week that they are going to Puerto Rico for their Thanksgiving tournament this year. where they will
Awesome.
be playing Virginia, Drake, and Norfolk State November 28th, 29th, and 30th in the capital city of San Juan. Also in that same tournament, but that they will not be playing against are Wyoming and Washington State in the Puerto Rico shootout.
Very exciting.
But yeah, I think we could probably give its own segment to what, especially the men's side. I mean, the women's side has been pretty well documented. I think by the last time we had recorded, I think most transfers had been completed. But the men's side, the roster really shaking out, and I'm just gonna tease it here. We are going to be trying to get some players on the show. I've been in contact with some of them. A lot of them very willing to come on. But one of the better recruiting classes I think Green Bay's ever had. They have a former 4-star recruit who has kind of bounced around the world of college basketball, Isaiah Miranda, 7-footer. They have a true 4-star commit out of high school who is coming in, and blanking on his name off the top of my head, but I have it right here. Jeremiah Johnson, who's coming in, had previously committed to Oklahoma State before deciding to come to Green Bay to play under Coach Gottlieb. And it is a very interesting, like I said, just an interesting roster being built. And I'll make it as quick as possible. The pieces are there for the Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
One of the better individually built rosters that they've probably ever had. Now it's just on Coach Gottlieb to put the right pieces out there and go win some games.
Mm-hmm. And they got the tools. So, I mean, hopefully the players, buy into the system. That's all you can really hope for. I don't see why they wouldn't. I really don't. It seems like all the media I'm seeing is that they are respecting their new coach. They're respecting the new system. And it's going to be promising. It's going to be a very promising year. I'm very, very excited for what this year is going to bring for both the men and the women's team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's almost a shame on how the women's team is not getting as much publicity as maybe they should for right now. Granted, it's just, it's, to use a baseball term, it's hot stove season, it's transfer season, so it's not really all eyes on college basketball right now. But a handful of recruits coming in as well, and new coach taking over a historic program. I mean, the recipe for success is there. And it's an absolute. They're going to be a blast to follow this year too.
They really are.
But like I said, as the season gets closer, we'll have a higher focus on that. With that, Dylan, we'll stay in the city of Green Bay and wrap up our main part of the episode here with the Green Bay Packers, who are back officially. They had family night over the weekend. The Lambeau Field got its first action for the 2024-2025 season with family night practice. Did you see the video of the 11-year-old Wapan?
I did.
Who got mobbed by the team when he caught the punts, 3 punts in a row with all 3 balls in his hand. I mean, that was a really cool moment. I mean, that's something that he will never forget, and that's something that went really viral on the internet, which was really cool. But strictly just speaking on field, it is game week. Packers have their first preseason game this weekend in Cleveland. And I'm going to ask you, we had the Jordan Love contract extension. I'm not sure if we had talked about that or if we thought it was coming. I believe we had thought it was coming by the last time we recorded. So do you want to touch on that first, I guess, then with your initial thoughts on that extension?
And the man got paid. He got paid. I don't have the exact details in front of me, but
highest paid quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. it's a risk. It's definitely a risk from the Packers' perspective, right? Because he's not. I'm not necessarily convinced that he's earned that contract. I think, looking back at this conversation, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I think I'll be able to tell future me, we'll be able to tell right now me that you're stupid. But I do think in time he'll be worth that money. But you let a 4-time MVP go to push him into the starting position, and you got to go all in on him. I mean, this would be a terrible, terrible, terrible time to, go back and try to find someone else to fill that role when he's been under Aaron Rodgers' wing for, 3-4 years, and now you're ready to start him. You're going to pay him. You're not going to just say, oh, no, you got more to prove. You're gonna put him in that seat, and now he's in the position where, the team's bought into him. The front office has bought into him with his contract. So now he's gotta walk. He's gotta walk the walk.
Yeah, 4 years, $220 million was the terms of the deal. $55 million per year, $175 that is guaranteed, and I believe there's a void year on the end of it just to kind of spread that guaranteed money out a little bit. Contractually speaking, I really do like the deal, because when you sign an extension like that, right? Like the big initial kind of criticism of it was looking at what Jared Goff got on his extension. He got paid 4 years, $212 million earlier this offseason. And you can look at Jared Goff, like, oh, he's been to a Super Bowl with the Rams, and he went to the NFC Championship game this last year in Detroit, and blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at Jared Goff, you're paying him kind of on what he has done and what he presents to you, which is basically that he will not lose you many games. He's not going to go out and win you many games, but he won't lose many for you.
Right.
Whereas with Jordan Love's contract, well, let me back up a second. With Jared Goff, he's not going to win you many games, but he's not going to lose you many games. He is going to do exactly what you need him to do to have a young, highly paid defense carry the team as a whole, and he's not going to get in the way of everybody else.
Right.
You've seen his ceiling. It's good, not great. By no means is Jared Goff a NFL Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination, barring some crazy Tom Brady-esque run of Super Bowls over the next handful of years, which I'm going to say I doubt happens. But on the flip side, when you give Jordan Love an extension, did the Packers have to do it? No. I mean, if they didn't believe in him, if the results weren't there, that once it all kind of got figured out in the season, in the latter parts of that season, and you saw it be consistent game to game and week to week and everything that went with that, you're paying him for what he had done in that time and the development that you've seen, but you're also paying him for kind of getting ahead of things in the next 4 years, where Jared Goff is out getting $212 million for 4 years, so it's what, 53 or something to that effect.
Yeah, 53.
You're paying him $53 million a season, average per year, and he's probably taking you as far as they're going to go with him.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying him based on past. You're not paying him for future, which I think is still an overpay for Jared Goff. And maybe in 4 years we'll say, "Yep, we messed up. We overpaid Jordan Love." I don't foresee that being the case. I think that this is actually going to open a window between now and when the next CBA is, which I think the next CBA is you're going to see a totally different way that quarterback contracts are structured. where it's going to be based on percentage of the salary cap, not a hard and fast number like it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of how that hypothetically plays out, I really like the contract a lot, especially because in a year and 2 years, that contract is going to change so drastically, and there's always going to be a newly highly paid quarterback, and it's going to cross over 60 million. It's going to probably go to 65, and this is going to look like chump change as that salary cap keeps going up anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
you get the deal done while you can. You give them the accolade of saying, "Hey, you're the highest paid ever," for however long it lasts. When Jordan Love signed the contract, he beat Tua's record, which Tua's record lasted. It was the same day, so that contract
Couple
lasted
hours.
about 8 or 9 hours, I think. So I like it. Next question for you. It's game week. It's preseason. What are you looking forward to about the Packers season as a whole being back? And one thing that you might be looking. Let's start with that. What are you looking forward to as a whole for the Packers season being back?
I think, love him or hate him, Aaron Rodgers is a Packers legend, if not the most talented Packer player ever. But there is a large majority of the fan base who was ready to move on from him. I personally was not one of those people. And it's okay if you guys are. I don't care. I'm not going to hold it against you. But it was dividing the fan base. And now we've had a full year under Jordan Love. He's shaking the nerves out, and we know we've got him for the next couple years. And I think this season is going to feel like a very fresh start. Last season, obviously last season was the fresh start, but there was a lot of kinks being worked out last season, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to try to get the team back to where we were. And granted, we were all in the mindset that last year was a rebuild year, and we didn't do that poorly. It didn't feel like a rebuild year last year.
No.
By any means. Maybe the first 3-4 games, but beyond that, they were clicking after that. So this year, I think the fan base is going to be very reinvigorated. I think we're going to have a lot of unity within the fan base. There's not going to be any of this Jordan Love versus Aaron Rodgers. I was right, you were wrong, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I don't care.
Sure.
So I think that's what I'm most excited for this season is we're going to get back to Packers football. No more locker room drama, no more fan base drama, just Packers football.
Yeah, I would agree with you as a whole on that. I think just as a whole, I think for the first time in quite some time, I would argue the Packers are entering a new win now window, which the Packers, in our lifetime, we were probably too young for the first win now Super Bowl window, right? We were a year-ish. I was 7 months when they won their first Super Bowl.
I was very young as well.
So we kind of missed that window. They never really they probably had shots at it, but they never really reopened it the same way with Favre. Under Rodgers, they had the Super Bowl year. They had a handful of NFC Championship game appearances, but really they kind of had two windows. They had that first probably 3 year from 2010 to 2014 when they go to Seattle, and that's what I'm going to say on that part of it. But
yeah,
they did have a second kind of rejuvenated win now window from 19 to 22. But it was a lot different. It was a let's get one more for Aaron. He really needs this for the legacy, blah, 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 blah. Whereas now, this win now window is, hey, we have a young, it's a lot like 2010. That first Super Bowl with Rodgers, or I guess the only Super Bowl with Rodgers, but that first hey, we've got a young team all the way across. We're all in. Let's see what happens. We went and signed Xavier McKinney. Went and got an upgrade at running back, or a healthier upgrade at running back in Josh Jacobs. The drafted, I think, very well, all things considered. So it really is. It's kind of got the 2010 feel to it, and it's so much. I think more. I can appreciate it a lot more because we didn't have that. We were in high school in that first window, and we knew what we knew, but we didn't know as much, I guess, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't probably appreciate it as much, knowing how close we would come for the next 15 years to get there without actually getting back. And having gone through the ups and downs and having lived through all that, I'm so excited for this to come back, and kind of open that window. So I'll end with this still. One more question about this upcoming weekend. What is one thing, one position group, one position player that you want to see, especially this Saturday when the Packers kick off in Cleveland?
Yes. Let me pull up the roster quick. Hold on. Don't fail me now, internet.
While you do that, okay.
I will say, as a core, I want to see the defense. I want to see what they're able to put together with their new defensive coordinator, with all the changes they made. Specifically, I'd like to see Xavier McKinney. I want to see, because there's high hopes for him. There's high expectations for him. I want to see him follow through. I don't know how many, obviously it's just a preseason game. I don't know how much, being as high caliber as he is, I don't know how many snaps he's going to get, how many minutes he's going to get, but I have high hopes for him, and I really would like to see him follow through.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo the same kind of sentiment, but a little bit different look at it. I am also probably very much looking most forward to the defense. I don't know if if people had read my last piece on Lombardi Ave on Fansided, I did write, just as a heads up, we're not going to see the full capacity of this defense at family night, at even in the preseason, because you're going to see a lot of base defense for two reasons. One, you don't want to get that kind of stuff on film. Two,
right,
you got to give guys base looks so that you can kind of evaluate your backups, evaluate the talent that you have, see how they perform in the base and the vanilla before either making moves to go, pick up guys or who to cut. You got to see who can play in the base and what they do in the base before you get too crazy with it. I don't expect Xavier McKinney to play a whole lot in the preseason, if at all.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
My expectation, where I'm most looking forward to, is actually two positions. It's the starting safety alongside him, and I'm curious on who's going to get the start. The initial depth chart came out, and Javon Bullard, the third-round pick, was kind of leading that charge, or actually, the second-round pick. Javon Bullard was leading that position group at strong safety, and it's been a tight battle between Bullard, Evan Williams, who's a fourth-round selection, and Anthony Johnson Jr., who was a seventh-round pick last season. All three of them have had incredible moments in camp from all reports, and just seeing how they perform. Now, obviously, you don't necessarily want to have to see your safety have to play some big snaps in the preseason because, it's probably somebody else is getting beat. But playing in a new defense, the 4-2-5 specifically, which is the base defense of Jeff Hafley, that strong safety actually kind of ends up playing more like a linebacker. They play very downhill. They're not sitting at center field like Xavier McKinney will at free safety. So they can play a lot more downhill. They kind of, like I said, it's a hybrid between a linebacker and a safety. which is why I think Javon Bullard's probably going to have the advantage just with the physicality he plays with. But all three of them are very exciting to see on how they fit. The other position battle I'm really looking forward to seeing, also in the defensive secondary, and this is more than just this week, I'm very curious on how the outside corner, outside of Jair Alexander, is going to shake out. Right now, it's kind of a two-person battle between Carrington Valentine, who's actually hurt right now, and Eric Stokes, Eric Stokes has all the potential in the world when he's healthy. He hasn't been thus far in his NFL career as a whole. But him and Christian Watson went down to UW-Madison, went to the health center. Actually, and both of them had the kind of same issue where doctors found out that both of them had a foot that was stronger than the other. And that's why they were getting hamstring injuries, because their other leg was trying to compensate for the stronger one and be equal. And that's why they get so many soft tissue injuries. So both of them, again, knock on wood, have been healthy thus far through camp and playing at the high level that, in Stokes' case was a first-round pick. In Watson, it was literally the first pick or second pick of the second round. So, again, basically first-round outside talent. So kind of keeping, kind of that higher expectations for the talent that they have, both of them playing at a very high level through camp. And for Stokes' sake, he already had his fifth-year option as a first-round pick declined. So he's really playing on a prove-it type season. This is his last year guaranteed in Green Bay. And, they could, in theory, cut him, I guess. But this is his last year of that rookie deal. And if he wants a second contract in the NFL, this is the time to perform.
Yep.
So if he's able to stay healthy, which I hope for his sake, personally speaking, as well as, for the benefit of the Packers, that he's able to do that at a high level and stay healthy, that's going to speak good things. That is it for us this week, Dylan. Before we wrap up, do you want to start with our Ticket Smarter ticket of the week? And I'm going to go ahead and give that to the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Milwaukee Brewers, as mentioned, I said that we're going to be in Milwaukee on Sunday the 11th, so that is going to be our ticket of the week as well. You can join us if you choose to. Tickets are as low as $15.60, which you can make even cheaper if you use code ROOTS10, ROOTS, number 10. Gets you $10 off your order, code ROOTS10. Some exclusions do apply, but use code ROOTS10. That's our Ticket Smart ticket of the week. Dylan, what are you rooting for in the upcoming week?
Pretty standard stuff. Kenny Bednarik finishing off his Olympics in the 200-meter final. Hoping he does a little bit better than he did in the 100-meter final. USA basketball will be taking on Serbia in the semifinals to go to the gold/silver medal game. And then obviously Packers start their preseason Saturday, 3:25 at Cleveland. High expectations.
All right, Dylan, just real quick. Packers plus 2.5 points to cover. Do the Packers get that win, or do they cover this weekend?
Yes and yes.
All right. My root for, I'm also going to say, I'll say Brewers because that's where I'm headed this weekend. I'm going to say Packers because who doesn't pick the Packers? But
not right, yeah.
And I'll throw in there too, just to really bring this episode full circle, Dylan. Thursday, August 8th, Olympic handball semifinals. 9:30 a.m. Sweden versus France. 2:30 p.m. Norway and Denmark. That is where my eyes will be. Can't wait.
Right on.
These Europeans are awesome at handball, and I am so excited for the semifinals and then the gold medal match on Saturday morning, excuse me.
Afternoon for them, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's the bronze medal match is 3 a.m. here Central Time with an 8 a.m. start time for the gold medal match. My prediction, I'm going to say Norway and France. believe. Yeah, Norway is going to beat Denmark. France is going to take care of Sweden. And I have no basis for that other than it's just what I've got a gut feeling on based on looking how they played the quarterfinals.
Fair enough. Yep.
All right. That is episode 154 for Shauna, Sean, Ramsey, and Justin, who aren't here. I'm Eric. That's Dylan. Episode 154 is in the books. We're out. See ya.
Peace.
Actually.
Oh.
We do have one announcement. That's a psych. Dylan, hit us with the announcement that we have.
Yes, we are finally releasing the official Root for Wisconsin Podcast Network Discord server.
What is Discord?
Discord is, I don't want to say a social networking site. It's more of like a Facebook page with a lot more interactive capabilities. So separate channels for separate sports, separate voice chats. You can tailor the experience to what you want. We are going to do our best to be posting to that, and to get to the Discord, we will post the link to all of our socials here when this episode drops. I will be heading the Discord server, so you can message me with any comments, suggestions, complaints, threats, whatever you want. I don't really care. Hop in, pick out, head over to the official section, read the read first section, read the rules. We're going to put some stuff in the podcast crew where we all introduce ourselves. Head over, select your roles. It's all going to be explained there. I'm going to do my best to keep everything up to date. And we're hoping this is a way to be much more interactive with the listeners. Give you guys some input, tell us what you think we're right on. Tell us what you think is a hot take. Tell us why we're stupid. Nicely, but tell us why we're stupid. We're gonna post our web stories there. We're gonna post our bars of the week when we have one.
Oh shit, that reminds me, I didn't have a Wisconsin web story of the week.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna keep posting. We're gonna start posting to that here probably this week. We're gonna get the rest of the guys in, and hope to see you there.
Hope to see you there indeed. Let's try this again. For Shauna, Sean, Justin, and Ramsey, who aren't here, I'm Eric. That's Dylan. Episode 154 is in the books now. We're out. See ya.
See ya.